All right.
Two dudes
Two guys.
sitting on the couch.
All right. Here we are. Casino Guitars. Mr. Mark Agnesi.
What's up?
Dude, you brought us into the stronghold back here.
We've been hanging out all day.
We've been hanging out all
We've
day.
been hanging out all day. We've been to other guitar stores.
It's true.
We had lovely lunch.
We had a delightful lunch.
I have to tell you before we start, you guys are my favorite channel.
Dude.
I watch every video. It's the first thing I do when I get into work. Before I check email or anything, I check and see if there's a new upload from
What did those
Casino
idiots
Guitars
say today?
because I love what you guys are doing, and you guys are great. I absolutely love it. I'm glad you guys came by.
Well, man, that seriously, it means a ton coming from you. So we appreciate that, man. It's like Sean said. Sean's behind the camera, everybody. But you know, we've been watching you forever on Guitar of the Day.
Thank you.
Back in Norms. We've all been obviously watching since you came here. I think the stuff that you've been doing here has been phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
So let's go back,
Okay.
because I have enjoyed getting to know you today.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's been awesome. Tell us a little bit, how did you get started at Norms when you first did that?
I got the job at Norm's off Craigslist.
That's awesome.
Seriously, yeah. I used to run another guitar store in LA called West LA Music,
Okay.
which is no longer around. As soon as I left, whole thing went down.
Of course.
It's not how it happened, but yeah. So I ran West LA Music for about 3 years, the guitars department, because that was right when I moved to LA, and I figured best place to get tapped into the scene, go hang out with guitar players all day. So I did that and started auditioning and was playing in like 5 or 6 different bands around LA until it finally got to the point where I was making enough money that I was like, I don't need the day job anymore.
Right.
These were leaner years.
Sure.
Before things like children and all that stuff. And I did that for a couple of years, and then the main artist I was playing with kind of like lost their deal, and then it was like, oh boy, I need to get back into the job market. And I'm technically not qualified to do anything else.
Well,
it's guitars or nothing my whole life.
Right.
So I started looking for jobs in the industry, and it was just things weren't panning out. And then one day I was on Craigslist and it said vintage guitar expert wanted. And I followed up, and it was Norman's Rare Guitars, which was like 2 miles down the street from my apartment in LA. And obviously that was after Sarah Marshall had come out. So my wife had already been there and bought me the t-shirt and stuff for my birthday and things. And it was like, oh, I know that place. That's like world famous guitar store.
Yeah.
I'm not a vintage guitar expert, but I know a lot about guitars. I'm going to go in, and I went and talked to Norm for about a half an hour. And at the end of that half an hour, I was the general manager of Norman's Rare Guitars and spent the next 10 years of my life running that store until I came here to Gibson. So that was a 10-year vintage guitar education, and got to meet a lot of cool people. Still in touch with those guys, talked to them all. I was in LA a few weeks ago, had lunch with Norm. We're always still staying in touch and talking, and Lemo and Nick and all, and Jen and then everybody, still very, very close friends of mine.
Very, very cool. How much do you feel like, because we were talking about some of the sort of hats you wear here at Gibson.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of stuff.
Different weird things, yeah.
Do you feel like that was pretty good preparation leading into this? Or is it just totally different worlds?
I mean, it's both. This is the first time I'd ever worked in a corporate environment, where you like come to an office and there's like, you have an email address and there's like an HR department and there's like people and there's ways of doing things. Norms there were no just do what you got to do to get stuff. There's 5 of us.
Well, we relate to that.
I'm sure it's very similar. It's like you just do whatever
you
got to do. So it takes some time to realize, oh no, there's other people that do that, and you shouldn't do that because that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And so it took a little while to get used to being part of a much greater team of people.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine. I mean, we still clean the toilets occasionally. So, casino, you know what I mean? Not too many people to do other things all the time.
It's funny, when I was at Norm's a couple weeks ago, I went in the bathroom and it hadn't changed at all. Like the same stack of magazines were
right
still on the same road case that was sitting next to the sink from 5 years ago when I left. Like literally, it was like time warp. Nothing has changed. It's great.
That's kind of awesome.
It's nice though to know that some things never change. You know.
Right. That's true. One day I got to make it out to Norm's. I've never been there. Sean and the boys were in California a few weeks ago and actually made the trip out. So
Nice.
pretty darn cool. Let's talk about Gibson TV, man.
Cool.
First off, I love it.
Thank you.
And I hear people say, wrongly, why don't you guys, and we talked about this a little bit, why don't you guys just make guitars? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to make content? And I think some of it goes back to, there was a point where in the past where, there was talk about, be a lifestyle brand and be all these things. But that's not what I see you guys doing anymore. Like, I see you super focused on making amazing guitars that are where they're supposed to be. They're period correct. And you're building huge content. Like, what's your sort of philosophy behind what you're going to put out on Gibson TV?
Yeah. Gibson is one of the great guitar companies of all time, right?
Yes.
But it's also a brand.
It is.
And as much as some people might not like that, it is a brand. And part of, we're 130 years old this year.
Wow.
Part of being a brand and having that much heritage is storytelling. That's what great brands do. Great brands tell stories.
Yes.
And when I came in and was going to start doing content, my partner Todd, who's in LA, he works out of LA, I work out of Nashville, and we kind of run GTV together. It's like, there's so many stories that are not being told right now about this stuff. Everyone's telling the product story. Here's the guitar, it's a maple top and mahogany back and a mahogany neck and a rosewood fingerboard and 22 frets. And I had already done that.
There's 18 million YouTube channels doing that
and
right now.
I had done 700 and some episodes of doing that every day. It was like, there's way more interesting stories to tell about these guitars. How are they made? Everybody's like, show us a factory tour video. Like, we need a new factory tour video. It's like, factory tour videos I normally don't like because they're normally shot on the fly and they're normally super loud because you're inside a working factory,
in a factory
while work is being done and all this stuff. It's like, whoa, let's do a mini series of episodic. I walk the floor, I do the tour sometimes at USA for people, and it's like it's like there's 14 different steps really to build a Gibson guitar. So let's make a 14 episode mini series where we go step by step through how we make the guitars, called The Process, which we are doing season 2 now in Montana, showing how we do acoustic guitars. Completely different animal from making electric guitars. I hadn't spent a lot of time at the craftery in Montana, and I finally got to spend some time there. And when they took me on the tour, like, I'm close to this stuff, and like, my mind was blown at some of the stuff that you don't even think about.
Just don't think how do they
like that J200. You look at that mustache bridge. The bridge goes on after the guitar has been painted, but you can't glue a bridge to a painted surface. So when you see that open mustache, there's a person who puts that bridge down to get a template, takes a razor blade and scores all the way around both inside the open mustache part and the outside, and then comes back with a chisel and scrapes all of the paint off within that footprint without going out of the line, so there's an even place to make wood to wood contact for that. It was like, I'm watching this going like, we do this on every single guitar, and I work here and I'm close to it, and I consider myself, like, I had no idea some of the steps, and bracing ties. It's just such a different process than making solid bodies. So that was one thing. How do we make guitars?
Yeah.
So that was the process. And then, The Scene is a show that I host where we go to a lot of guitar stores and just tell the story of those, like, who are these people that sell these guitars? Who have they sold guitars to? How did they get in business? How did they build this? How did Norm build Norman's rare guitars? How did Walter and Christy Carter build Carter vintage? All those kinds of stories. And then there's like the collection, which is my favorite. That one's near and dear to me.
I love that one.
Who are these crazy people that own 400 of these things, and why do they own 400 of them, and what are the stories behind all of them? All the way through to other things that we do, like through the lens, sitting down with rock photographers and seeing some of the coolest shots that they've taken throughout their career, and what's the story? Where were you? How did you get this shot? What was going on that day? All of those stories behind stuff. And then there's the guitar content as well. We have Jim DeCola teaching you how to set up your guitar and do like the necessary stuff that we need to have. But then there's all this other storytelling. So that's kind of where Gibson TV came from. And now we're kind of transitioning as well into full-length feature films with Gibson Films, which I'm super excited about. And our first thing was that came out was the making of Slash's and the Conspirators Record 4, which just won a gold at the Telly Awards for best full-length documentary, which is awesome. We were totally shocked that the first one out of the gate took home a trophy, but we've got some other cool stuff in process. I was hinting at things earlier. I can't talk fully about it yet, but like hopefully next summer there'll be like some amazing Gibson film releases here coming out.
I mean, we don't know. We're not that in the loop, but from the hints, I'm excited about that.
It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be cool. It's a story I've wanted to tell for many, many years, and we're about halfway through telling it. So,
I mean, you said when we were in the vault, you know, Mark was kind enough to take us around the vault, we'll play all these cool guitars. And you said, you know, hey, when I got here, there were all these cool vintage guitars. But if it's going to be like this, I got to make them guitars that have a story.
yeah.
And so, like, you taking us through that and saying, you know, well, here's like the Big Ed Explorer, or like here's Mary Ford's, you know, I mean, that's huge. And like you said, I think when we were eating Mexican food and lunch, you know, it makes normal people sort of care, not just us guitar nerds. And
So
I think that's important.
Part of the garage was, you know, there was two words we weren't allowed to use when we were designing it. The first one was store, and the second one was museum. Now, it is both a store and a museum, but, you know, I'm the director of brand experience. We call this a brand experience center. Whether you are the most knowledgeable screw counter guitar aficionado, or you are a complete novice who happens to be tagging along with somebody who's super into this stuff and you find yourself stuck here for an hour, there are so much things to see, learn, do, that when you leave here, the idea is that you will come away with a greater understanding of not only who Gibson is, but the last 130 years of popular music and how we've helped kind of shape that whole journey. And I mean, we talked for a long time about that journey in the vault, you know.
I mean, you sort of taught me some things today about things that came from Gibson that I either didn't know or I had not quite put them into that big picture of, you know, wow, there's really a lot of the stuff that we love. Most of the stuff that we love, this rock and roll thing, this guitar thing, it would not be here at all without those first Gibson guitars and without the truss rod.
The adjustable truss rod. We're all still reaping the benefits of that massive innovation, yes.
That's just wild to me. I mean, but just to speak to what you said, like part of what we were doing here is we had a couple buddies that we met. And,
Yeah.
You know, they, hey, Jonathan, will you come help us, you know, play guitars with us and help us find ones we want? Joel ended up ordering a Murphy Lab, which was a fantastic process, by the way. The made to measure.
Picking the wood and the whole thing. Yeah.
Fantastic to see. Pat, by the way, is phenomenal at his job. Shout out to Pat. Because we were there for like, I don't know, 3.5, almost 4 hours doing it.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd been doing it for like 30 minutes. But because it was interesting and it was fun. It didn't hurt that, you know, Joel brought in this cool vintage amp for us to play through. But his teenage daughter, who's like, you know, she's like 16 or 17. 17-year-old girls are sometimes hard to keep their attention.
Yeah.
You know, when they're not guitar players. She loved it. I think she had as much fun.
That's the whole idea. Yeah.
And yeah, so I think you've really succeeded.
Thank you very much.
In that, you know what I mean? And we just hanging out here, man, is kind of.
I mean, we've been hanging out for a few hours now, and by the way, we're still having fun.
We're still having fun, man.
You guys haven't even seen the upstairs vault.
We haven't even been upstairs.
400 more guitars to look at.
I will say one of the things that you sort of said when we were talking about the vault that excited me, and lunch too. This idea that you guys are still discovering more about like how these guitars, these vintage, like a 59 burst, more about how they're made, so that you're getting closer and closer and closer to what those guitars are. Anything you can, I mean, I know some stuff probably top secret maybe, but anything you can throw out, like what's coming, what you guys are on the cusp of as far as pushing forward in that area?
No, but like what I was saying, you know, and I told you this, like we have the historic, and then there's the true historic, and then the even more historic, and don't forget about these ones. Like, we get it, we understand that, like, yeah, it's frustrating for people out there because it's like we always cheap judge, but it's like I was saying, we're pushing it, we're chipping away at it. We've only been here for 5 years.
Right.
We keep finding new stuff. We keep uncovering new clues and new hints, and you find something, and then you go chase it for a little bit, and you start going into the lab and winding pickups and wiring things and putting them in guitars, and you know, you keep chipping away at it. And if we find something new that is this new piece of the puzzle that we didn't have, we get super excited about it, and we want to share it with people. And we're out of names to call stuff, so we're sorry, but like, you know, that's not going to keep us from continuing to try and keep cracking away at that magic that people want from a 59. Well, as we also talk, as people who have never even played one assume the magic is of the 59. We're trying to give them that too.
That's right. Know? Well, and I think the thing that's missing for people who complain about that, that we've had 15, you know, true story, blah, blah, blah. I think if they understand there's a reason why there keeps being a new one. It's not just marketing. Oh, we want to sell.
It's not repackaging the same thing. It's like we are finding.
We found a new thing.
New documents, or we found this thing from 59 that, like, oh my God, look at this. Like, look at this. And we all get excited, and they go in the and they start doing stuff. Like, you know, we are chasing it every single day. What Matt Kaler and his team in product development are doing, they are doing the Lord's work for guitar players. Dude. Like, you want to talk about passionate people for trying to solve it. Like, they are every day working on trying to get closer and closer and closer and closer. And they are. Every year, it's getting closer and closer and closer. And there's going to come a time in the next 5 to 10 years where original 59 Les Pauls are just, you're buying a collector's item.
Yes.
That's all you're buying at that point. And they will still be very expensive collector's items, but they're not going to be superior to what you can buy. For, you know, we're getting every year closer and closer. Stick with us. Sorry about the names. I get it. I understand your frustration.
That's exciting to me, though. You know what I mean?
Like, it's exciting to us, dude. You know, you feel it. You feel it getting closer and closer. Yeah. And you play more and more of them, and artists keep bringing theirs in, and we keep scanning them, and we keep capturing more scans and more time, more neck profiles. Now we can do all these new things with pickups now that we could, you know. It's not just outputs. You know, we can determine the kind of magnets. We can determine the Gauss.
Right.
You know, how much magnetic field is. It's not just trying to match the output. It's matching all of the ingredients that, you know, we keep getting closer and closer and closer, and that's what we come to work and push every day. How can we get closer and closer and closer and closer? You know.
Very cool, man.
It's exciting. I love it.
That is exciting.
We all love it. We all come to work every day excited to get it a little bit closer and continue to make great guitars. You know.
I think it shows.
Thank you.
Talking to you, hanging out, playing the guitars, it shows. And yeah, man, this is just an awesome place.
I've had a great time with you guys today.
We've hung out, we've had a good time. Gibson Garage is awesome. If you haven't been to the Gibson Garage,
come see us.
You got to come. The dudes, everybody working here, they know their stuff. They're cool. So yeah, come check it out. Come play some guitars. Thank you so much for your.
And go to Casino Guitars too.
Go
hang out over there.
That's true.
I can't wait to come at some point.
Hang out with us.
I got to find a reason to come to North Carolina. I want to come hang out.
You a golfer?
I'm not a golfer.
Yeah, me neither. We'll just go, you know, drink or something.
Yeah, they have drinking there, right?
Yeah.
We'll do that. It's going to be great.
We got guitars. We got alcohol. It's fine.
It's going to be great. Dude, it's been so great to finally hang with you.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Cool.
See you later.
Cheers.